Oh no, my closet. Ugh. Ciao, buongiorno. Buongiorno everyone. Hi, it's me again, and today we're gonna talk about some classic books. Recently I did a video about how to read more classic books, and today I want to talk about many classical books for beginners. So I made 3 piles right here. I have children's literature, I have short classics, and I just have interesting and captivating classics. We're gonna start with children's literature because it's for children. We need to set our goals smartly. Don't start reading with Dostoevsky. Set small goals and let's start with children's literature because it's gonna be cute, it's gonna be easy, and it's gonna be quick. And it's probably not going to be hard to understand. I have many books, so I'm not gonna get into plots of them really deeply. I'm just gonna talk about them very briefly because I have many. I literally have many. We're gonna start with The Wind in the Willows. It's literally so cute. It's a book with animals. We follow talking animals right here, and it's full of nature, it's full of cute conversation. It's really simple, but it's really beautiful. It's like, I think it's gonna be best to read in the summer, but honestly you can read it in the winter too, because here we follow all of the seasons as long as I remember. It's gonna be good time for you because we follow animals, we follow nature, the change of the world, and it's just really beautiful and cute read and approachable. I really want to go really quickly through them. So then we have Peter Pan. You know what the Peter Pan is about, and it's actually such a good book. It's not the most interesting read. All of the children's literature are for children. Maybe you're not going to be that involved in the plot, but it's still going to be cute and good time for you. Very magical too. What can be better than a book about magic and traveling to a European island? We have pirates here, we have sirens here, fairies. Then we have Alice in Wonderland. I love Alice in Wonderland. I love the book, I love the movies, every single adaptation, and I think it was just so cute. It's not that complex as the movies because it's also very simple, but it's very funny, very cute. We follow Alice and just her crazy mind and her being very skeptical, very egoistic in the beginning of the story. So that's very cute and also magical read. So prepare yourself for some abstract conversation, for some weird characters, and lots of magic. Then we have one of my favorites classics ever, Little Prince. I've read it I don't know how many times. I don't know, but it's so beautiful. It touches upon extremely important topics like love, hate, prosperity, adulthood, childhood, the idea of the inner child, and I just think it's not only beautiful and easy to read, it's actually so easy to read, but it's so complex. You're definitely going to think about this book after reading it. So now when you read children's books and you're like, okay, I read some good classics for children, now I can go a bit higher, so I'm gonna read some classics for adults, but I still don't want to go too high, right? We want to make it possible for us to read, so I'm going to read a shorter classic. Small steps, remember, small steps. First, I'm gonna recommend you extremely short classic, which is Yellow Wallpaper. Look how short it is. It's very sad and depressive read, but it is so important. It's about depression. It covers topics such as femininity, such as mental sickness, and it's so good. We follow a story of a woman who has a mental sickness. She has depression. Because of loneliness, she starts to see in this yellow wallpaper the face of a woman, and we sort of follow her story and her becoming crazy. I love it so much. It's not only so complex, it covers such important topics, the language is very easy, and it's short. Pearl. That was the best classic I've read so far. Maybe not the best, but one of the greatest I've read so far. It covers topics about prosperity, about craveness to own something. We follow a story of a man who finds himself possessing the pearl of the pearl, and this pearl makes him go crazy. Not only him, but people around him, and it's so important. And it's such a beautiful read about craveness and wanting to own things. It's so good. Language is so easy. It's so easy and approachable. Read it. If you have to read any of the those books, read this one. Then we have Animal Farm. You probably know Animal Farm, probably read it in high school or middle school. If you did, please reread this book. It's so amazing to read this if you're actually an adult because it's such a smart read and it makes you think. I had such an amazing time reading it. I love books about animals because they are a reflection of humans. Even though animals do not want to be like humans here, they sort of become them. Read it because that's so good. And then we have The Prophet, which is it a non-fiction? It's not a non-fiction. And it's extremely smart. It's basically about this man who wants to leave a city, but before doing that, he just decides to speak truths about world and universe. And people just like ask him, speak to us of work. And he answered saying, you work that you may keep pace with earth and the soul of the earth. So it's sort of like a fiction, but it works as a non-fiction because it gives you so many facts, so many beautiful truths about world. And look how it's actually so short. You can read it in a day. And I have so many, like I annotated. I underlined many things here, so it was just so good. And the third pile are just interesting fiction. Interesting and not too complex. Because after reading short books, you're like, okay, I read children's literature, I read short classical books, and now I can go a little bit more higher and I can read something longer. But still approachable and quite simple, because we're still doing small steps. I'm gonna recommend Love of My Life, just Ernest Hemingway. I love the way he writes, because he uses such a simple language and I love it, but he's still able to cover really important topics and themes. So here I'm giving you The Sun Also Rises, which is a thick book, but you read it very fastly because the story is captivating. You follow very interesting group of people, of friends, the elders of sort of a lost generation, so the people who survived the war and now they're kind of trying to find the reason to live again. And by doing that, they find themselves in situations such as drinking parties, dinners. We sort of follow them, the lost generation, them trying to find a point. So it was definitely very interesting to read, very complex, and the characters were just interesting to follow. And they're in Spain, by the way. Spain is cool. And then we have A Movable Feast, which is another Ernest Hemingway's book. It's a non-fiction. It's his memoir from the time when he lived in France. And we just follow him and his everyday life, which was so cool to read. If you like an author, you're just simply interested about his life. And it's like he writes here about Fitzgerald and other writers and artists, and it's just so nice to see. It's like his diary. It was just fun to read. Then we're going to have The Great Gatsby. It's a great book to read because also language here is extremely approachable. You can see the movie first. You have probably seen the movie, and it's still quite short, so it's not very hard. The topics here and themes are very approachable too. The idea of love, prosperity, wealth, poorness, friendship, toxic love. I think it's a perfect read because it's easy to read. You can watch a movie, you can listen audiobook to it. Then we have the Slaughterhouse-Five, which is extremely nice political response to a war. It was such a good read about a man who is certain that he can travel through time. And basically this old book is an answer towards the idea of war. And this old book is supposed to make you understand how freaking stupid wars are and how pointless in the end they are. So we follow this man and he just goes through time. But does he really go through time, or is it just him trying to help himself to move forward after being on a war? It's very complex and it's really interesting. It can be funny too. So it's also short, the language is approachable, it's perfect. And then we have few longer ones, but they're still very approachable and still very interesting. 12 Years a Slave. You can also see the movie for this one. It's not like a complex book, but it's hard because it touches upon tough topics such as slavery. You might not have like magical time reading it, but it's definitely gonna be important. Plus the language is easy too, so it's one of those classics that you can read it without overthinking because you just have the story here. Very important, very beautiful story. You can watch a movie before reading it, so you will have the awareness of what the book is about if you're afraid of stepping into it, but it's really good. We have Dracula by Bram Stoker. Here the language might be a little bit harder, but don't you worry, it's okay. We were not born in years of Bram Stoker, so you don't need to understand everything. You need to understand though that it's okay not to understand. It's great if you love fantasy, if you love spookiness, if you love horror. It's literally so good, so interesting, so spooky. I was reading it and I was like literally afraid when I was imagining Dracula, but it was so good. And then we're gonna finish with Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, she was a genius. She was 19 or 18 when she wrote that. I love Frankenstein. You also can read it if you love fantasy. It also covers such important topics like humanity, the relationship between the creation and the master, the idea of what's the point of life. It's very, very good read. Okay, I covered I don't know how many books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 15. I think there are 15. It might be a little bit chaotic, a bit fast and quick, but I really wanted to tell you about all of these books so you could have the most out of it. So thank you so much for watching. Tell me if you've read any of these. Thank you so much. If you want to talk about books, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Facebook, you can add me on Goodreads as a friend, because I want to be your friend. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye!